Okay, let me pull up on the screen where we're at this week in cybersecurity. We go to our grade screen as usual. Hopefully the blinky thing, but there it is. All right, February 2nd, that's this Sunday, Groundhog Day. So we're looking at the 4.03 security appliances lesson today. And then we'll have network monitoring, another career connections assignment, and then we have a project instead of a test for the end of this unit in a few more weeks. So let's look at 4.03 this morning. Security appliances. The first thing that comes to mind when you hear appliances might be your refrigerator or your kitchen stove, right? But in cybersecurity world, appliances consist of network management and security tools designed to protect networks from security threats. So unified threat management, or UTM. So a UTM device is considered a security appliance. This typically involves a single piece of hardware, or it could be software, that provides multiple security functions. So a UTM appliance can combine the function of a firewall, an intrusion detection system, malware inspection, and web security gateway, all into one device. UTM is popular in most home networks. So like an internet service provider typically gives you a modem that also is a firewall and a built-in router. So that's all in one device. So we have those in our homes a lot more commonly. UTM is not perfect though, but it does, and it has its downsides. So it's a single point of failure that could affect the entire network. So if it goes down, if it's not working, it affects you in a lot of ways because it's doing a lot of things. If one piece of the UTM system fails, the rest of the system also fails. See, that's the problem. If you get one part of it that doesn't work, it's gonna cause big problems. And additionally, they can struggle with latency issues if they're subject to too much network activity. So you're like, man, this page is taking forever to load. Well, yeah, because you got one device trying to do a lot of things. And if the network's real busy, it could cause some issues with things being very slow. So guidelines for configuring network security technologies. Oh, look, they little binary zeros and ones made a screwdriver and a wrench over here on the right side. Isn't that clever? So here's guidelines. Number one, familiarize yourself with common devices on the network, within the network. So if you're going to configure your network security technologies, number one, certainly you want to know what all devices you're dealing with. Two, incorporate security gateways in the network to better control the state of traffic that enters and leaves. So you want something that's monitoring how much traffic and controlling that coming in. Implement network scanning technology like protocol and packet analyzers to stay up to date on the state of traffic in your network. Implement your network intrusion detection systems like we talked about last week to help you identify unwanted network behavior. So that's the NIDS. Be aware of the risk of using an active intrusion prevention device, especially false positives. Man, we talked about that last week, where to block your actually legitimate traffic. Consider using a UTM system to streamline the management of your network security devices, but be aware of the risks involved, especially as a UTM system could become a point of failure. So that's just a little handy advice there on setting up network security. Antivirus software. That's something we're all very familiar with. It's a type of security appliance originally developed to detect and remove viruses. However, it's now grown to protect users from a bunch of different threats like worms, Trojans, adware, more. Antivirus has really become a bigger thing, and it uses several different techniques to identify malware. So the two most common methods are known as signatures and heuristics. So let's see how that works. Signatures. A malware signature is a unique pattern of data, either in memory or in a file. So malware will have something that they can recognize. Oh, it's got this pattern of data. That must be malware. Antivirus software may contain thousands of signatures because it's identified all of these different malware. So it's checking for every one of them, looking for any of those patterns. But it can only detect malware for which a signature has already been identified and published by the antivirus program's authors. It has to be part of the update of your antivirus. If it's a new malware, it's not going to catch it because it doesn't recognize the pattern. So as a result, there's a period of time between a new piece of malware being released and when its signature will be added to your antivirus. It has to be identified first. They have to figure it out. Then they got to update your antivirus. So during this period, that's when malware is dangerous and it can spread and attack your unprotected systems. So the other way is heuristics. And that means it actually learns from experiences, from the behavior. It can see what this program is doing and identify it that way, even if it's a brand new program. So this type of detection uses rules to identify viruses based on previous experience of the behavior of known viruses. Viruses generally do this, and I see this new program that's also doing that, so this must be a virus as well. Heuristic detection may execute a suspicious program in a virtual machine. Like it's set up like a fake system and run that program there and analyze it for operations typical of known malware. Yep, it's doing those things that are not good. So I'm going to block this program. It might also revert the program back to its original source code and look for malware-like instructions. If the heuristic analysis considers that the file acts like malware, it'll flag it. This is a potentially dangerous program. Unlike signatures, heuristics does not require specific knowledge about that individual type of malware. It doesn't have to have known about it in advance. It can detect new malware simply by the behavior of the program. Now, the drawback of heuristics is that they can only draw conclusions based on experience. So new malware can and often does pass unnoticed. Data loss prevention. Often, an attacker takes data that's stored inside a private network and moves it to an external network. So he has access to it, right? This is known as data exfiltration. You've heard of infiltrate, right? That's getting into something, infiltrate. Well, this is exfiltrate. That's getting something out of a system, right? Data loss prevention, or DLP, is a set of tools designed to prevent data exfiltration because you don't want them removing. They may be removing credit card information from your system and moving it to their server where they have access to credit cards. DLP can detect potential data breaches and prevent them by monitoring and blocking sensitive data from being moved. DLP software classifies critical data, like, okay, this is credit card information. We don't let any actions copy that or move that off this drive. You can read only, right? Read only. You can look at it. You cannot copy it, cannot take it. So DLP software classifies critical data and identifies violations of policies defined by organizations. These policies are typically driven by compliance with regulations like HIPAA, protecting all your medical information, the PCI DSS, which is protecting your credit card information. Once those violations are identified, the DLP enforces remediation, alerts, encryption, other protective actions to prevent users from accidentally or maliciously sharing data that could put the organization at risk. So DLP remediation occurs when it detects a violation. So here's some of the typical remediation mechanisms. Could be an alert only. Maybe the copying is allowed, but management systems record the incidents and may alert administrator. Hey, this person copied this data. This system, this computer, whoever copied this data. And it may just alert. Maybe it'll block, depending on how it's set up. The user is prevented from copying the original file, but does have access to read it. But it won't let them copy anything. Maybe it'll quarantine. Access to the original file is denied to the user. And this might be accomplished by encrypting the file in place or moving it to a quarantine area of the system. Okay, this file is not going to be available because they're trying to copy it. So I'm going to move it where nobody can have it. Or Tombstone. Look at this. The original file is quarantined and replaced with one that describes the policy violation, how the user can release it. So they're trying to access this. Suddenly a different file is there and it says, oh, you're trying to violate our policy by copying this file that's not allowed. If you need access to this file, please contact whoever or whatever they need to do to actually get that file. So it may do a bait and switch on them right there. It says, oh, nope, you can't copy this. Take a guess. What is data exfiltration? X means removing data from a system, unauthorizing copying or retrieval of data from a system. Page 4. Mail gateways and spam filters. Oh, we need better and better spam filters. There are a lot of spam filters. If you look in your spam folder in your email or your trash in there, a lot of times you may find more emails there than in your inbox because there's so much spam every day. But still, there's a lot that gets through. I still see a lot of spam in my regular inbox and not in my spam box. Unsolicited email is known as spam. Right? Spam can eat up company resources by clogging your email. You may get thousands of them come in, and that'll slow your network down trying to sort through them all. May fill up your inboxes. Most email software has spam filtering built in, which is useful for home users, but organizations need something that prevents spam from even reaching the user's mailbox. Because the bigger your company, the more chances are somebody's going to click on it by mistake or not knowing any better. So to accomplish this, organizations often use a gateway server with spam filtering technology there. Spam filtering can be implemented in two ways. The first is by blocking the spam from ever making it to the user's mailbox using a web security gateway. The second is by using client-side filters to hide the spam. So that's on the actual part of the email folder there. That means it can be silently moved into a junk folder, right? Which is what you have. You have a junk folder or a spam folder. Using both methods allowed for a layered approach. Try to block it with your gateway filter. Anything gets through can be handled by the host client-side filter to move it to the junk folder. The filters of a gateway can be slightly less aggressive. A user receives a manageable amount of spam and be able to retrieve any falsely filtered mail. Because every once in a while, something that was legitimate, I'll just look at my spam folder and go, oh, wait, no, that's a real email. I need that. And you can train that. Generally, you can go and say not spam, and then it will recognize any future emails from that recipient, from that person that sent it to you, and it won't throw that in your junk folder anymore. But it's not bad to check it once a month or something just to see if you're missing something that you actually should be getting. Or if you're not getting an email saying, I should have had an email, go check your junk folder. The user receives a manageable amount of spam and be able to retrieve any falsely filtered email. So in both cases, spam filtering needs to be tuned to ensure that valid messages are not blocked. That's right. That's why you check your spam folder and tell it when you see something that's real. That helps fine tune it and teach it what to block and what not to. So check out these tips for identifying spam email. And we've looked at some spam emails actually in this class. So from IRS, rc55s.rc55s@rc5.si.org. Check the address to see if it matches the name of the sender and whether the domain of the company is correct. If this is from the IRS, it would be a .gov, right? IRS.gov. It wouldn't be rc55s, rc55s.org. So this is not from the IRS. Subject, claim your tax refund online. Is the content unbelievable? If it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. Hello, Sue. We identified errors. I love this. Errors in the calculationing. This is someone that English is not their first language. Of your tax from the last payment amounting to $419.95. Is the email full of spelling and grammar errors? That should be a huge red flag because a lot of these idiots that send all these spam are not in America. Most of them are overseas. They're in the Philippines. They're in India. They're in Nigeria. And they don't know English that well. And they make mistakes. The IRS wouldn't have something that's filled with mistakes and words like calculationing, which is not a word. For order See, not even in order for us to return. For order for us to return the excess payment, we must need to make a refund account, after which the funding will be credited to your specified bank account. So, no, specified. That's a specified bank account. Please click Get Started below to claim your refund. Check links. Always hover over the link first, because if you hover over it, it'll tell you where it's going. Does the destination URL match where you expect it to be? So this is not a real email. It won't hover and tell me anything. Thank you. We're here to ensure the correct tax to be paid at the time right. Does the signature match how the sender would sign their emails? Well, they wouldn't say to be paid at the time right. So yeah, what I'm going to click on that. Oh, see, this is at CTXQBGQH at drivepack.org. Nothing from the IRS. Totally fake. And we've looked at a lot of that ourselves. Let's look at page 5. Just another quiz. Oh, all right. Application vulnerabilities and zero-day attacks. So attackers often target vulnerabilities in security appliances like antivirus software. So this kind of attack is known as software exploitation. They're trying to exploit your software. Good morning, Mr. Granderson. Web servers, web browsers, email clients, databases are also often targeted. So an application vulnerability is a design flaw that can cause the application security system to crash. Vulnerabilities can only be exploited under specific circumstances, but due to the complexity of modern software and the speed at which new versions must be released, almost no software is safe because they are constantly coming up with new ways to get around it. So a zero-day attack, let's see how it's defined. An attack that exploits a software vulnerability that is unknown to the software vendors and users. So this is something new that they just discovered as a way to get into the software. 0 day, right? Today's the first day it's been exploited. This happens once a flaw or software/hardware vulnerability is exploited and attackers release malware before a developer has an opportunity to create a patch to fix it because they're not even aware of it yet. Most vulnerabilities are discovered by software and security researchers. The researchers notify the vendors to allow them time to patch the vulnerability before releasing the details to the public. Because a lot of times, this is your white hat hackers that are trying to figure out problems before they actually happen. It might take the vendor days to develop some patch, and that will leave the system vulnerable for days, weeks, or even years, depending on how quickly they're notified and how quickly they respond. All right, match the terms with the correct descriptions, and we've got a hidden image if we can do this correctly. All right. 0 day attack. We just looked at that, right? That's an attack that exploits some vulnerabilities. What else we got? Signature. Our 3 words are signature, web security gateway, and unified threat management, UTM. And it's either a unique pattern of data, either in memory or in a file, a single piece of hardware or software that provides multiple security functions, or an appliance that's used to mediate client connections with the internet. Remember, signature was where it was looking at specific patterns. But which of these, we got a web security gateway and UTM. So one of those was an appliance. One of those is just a single piece of hardware or software that provides multiple functions. I'm pretty sure the gateway was an appliance, wasn't it? Yes, it was. And the other one's the UTM. So, all right, we have our quiz for the week. What's the purpose of a UTM? What's a name for a unique pattern of data in memory in a file? Which the following is a set of tools to prevent data exfiltration? Which remediation technique quarantines the original file and replaces it with one saying, hey, you're violating our policy? Which type of attack is known as software exploitation? So, all right, there you go, guys. Pretty straightforward and simple this week. Security appliances. We got a few more weeks left in this unit. So This is a B day Friday, so Wednesday is the only A day we have left. So if your grade's below 70%, which I don't think anyone is, but I'll double check by today, then I'll see you Wednesday. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Have a great week.